I'm going to be honest with you. You've probably heard this answer before, but the simple answer to the question is to communicate and to talk and to understand. And if you've had this thought before, yes, I know talking to my kid about their learning is the best way to encourage them. But how? What do I need to say? What do I need to do? What should I talk about? How do I start these conversations? What questions do I ask them? I need something to guide me. Well, then this is the video for you, because I have a tsunami of resources coming your way that will hopefully help you to walk through these conversations and scaffold these conversations for you and your child as you go through.
So what questions are going to be answered? Well, I actually decided to split this up into two parts because I do have a lot of resources for you. I think it's good to focus in on a couple aspects, one at a time, and give you some time to process all of these resources that I'm going to be making available to you. So in part one, we're going to start off at the top by looking at the transdisciplinary theme and reminding ourselves what that is, because that is sort of the thing that structures the inquiry that students follow in school. Next, I actually decided to go right down to the bottom and look at subject connections and the ATL skills, because these are the things that teachers look at when they're planning their unit of inquiry, because this gives us some more specific details about what learning targets we want to target and what skills the students are going to need to be able to achieve those goals. And so I wanted to spend part one looking at those, and I have a lot of things to help you with those ATL skills, a lot of awesome visuals and strategies. So we're going to spend part one looking through those. Then in part two, we're going to go and look at the central idea and how you can use it to help your child tune in at the beginning of the unit of inquiry, and then also to extend their learning by asking more questions. We'll look at the key concepts, which will become specified concepts soon, and what can you do to encourage their use. Then we'll be looking at how can you help your child explore the lines of inquiry at home, and then what role does the learner profile play, and how can you develop these identities in your child at home. So you got that to look forward to in part two, but for now, let's get started with part one. Number one, what is a transdisciplinary theme again? If you want a more detailed explanation, please go check out a previous video of mine entitled What is Transdisciplinary Theme, and it shows you how teachers use it to build their units of inquiry. But very basically, transdisciplinary themes are designed to be giant buckets full of knowledge that encapsulate or offer the opportunity to explore almost any topic in human existence. And so what happens is every year from grade 1 to grade 5 or 6, depending on the school, students will be doing all 6 of these themes, and then they will be repeating them the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that, and each time exploring a different aspect of who we are with relating to maybe health or wellness or relationships or identity. Each time exploring how we express ourselves, going deeper and deeper and having different levels of complexity as they age, and to understanding their emotions or beliefs or culture or creativity, etc. These are just examples for each theme of certain topics that they might explore, because these topics are pretty endless. And so we use these to organize our learning as we go through. For this example, we're going to be looking at how we organize ourselves as it is going to be related to routines and rules that we can follow to optimize our learning.
Number two, how do the subject connections inform our choices, and how can you help at home? So the PYP subject standards are organized into different subject groups. So when a teacher is creating a unit of inquiry, they might look at the PYP scope and sequence documents to find subject learning outcomes that could be emphasized during that unit of inquiry. So for example, when looking down here at our images, our lists over here, these are some of the possible learning targets that were highlighted for this unit of inquiry, and they seem to follow 2 major groups. One of them being about diet and energy, and the other one being about living things and how things interact between ecosystems. For our unit of inquiry that we're trying now, or that we're looking through, we chose to focus on the impact of diet in improving the body and sources of potential energy, as well as the difference between physical and chemical changes and how that impacts performance. As we're looking at how we organize ourselves, we're looking into how students can manage their day so that they are giving themselves the best chance of success. And so that kind of connects to the how we organize ourselves subsection about rules and routines and the things that we do in our day in order to ensure our success. So teachers will look at these learning targets to help them to make connections to other subjects. We might look at the PSPE scope and sequence and see where active living can enhance students' learning experiences. We might use a little bit of math when we're doing some measurements, some heart rate measurements or some timing measurements, and we might use literacy skills as well when writing down a outline of what we've been learning. So the best way that you can help with this is, again, having conversations with your child and helping them to make connections to the learning targets at home through your discussions. You might notice that I actually I went from transdisciplinary theme all the way down to subject connections because I felt that that's more of a natural sort of progression. This is the flow that many teachers might prefer to follow, where they would look at those subject connections, we would look at our scope and sequence documents and find the possible connections to other units. Some schools might give you exactly a layout of the learning targets that they're going to hit. Some schools might give you a list of possibilities. When we are doing inquiry-based learning, a lot of the times the inquiry changes or pivots throughout the unit according to a class's interests or an individual student's interests. Their individual inquiry might change. And so what you might be able to do is take this list of possible targets, if your school provides it with you, or if your teacher provides it to you, and ask your child if there's anything related to these specific learning outcomes that they have been learning about in class. And if they struggle to do it themselves, you might be able to help them make that connection. Sometimes those connections might be there and sometimes not, but it's good to engage with the resources that your school provides you and try to see the connection and help your child to see the connection.
It's the ATL skills. These are my favorites. You can think of these as like essential skills that students need for becoming independent learners. Here's a quote from the IB that explains a little bit more about what they are. So it says there, approaches to learning are grounded in the belief that learning how to learn is fundamental to students' education. And so it's just a name that we keep for these skills, but essentially they are there to help students find their independence when they are going through an inquiry. And so something that teachers might do is they would follow this 4-step process to be able to identify which ATL skills they are going to focus in on and explicitly teach throughout an inquiry. So they might ask themselves, okay, so in order for students to explain the impact of diet in providing the body with sources of potential energy, students will need to, and then they look at the ATL skills, they might need to gather information, they might need to analyze that information, they might need to synthesize and interpret that information, and they may need to prepare something to help them communicate that information to others. And so maybe the teacher decides to focus in on analysis. The skill strategy that we'll explicitly teach this time is analysis, so that they can whittle down the information that they find online into something that is useful, synthesis as well. And then there might be a formative assessment where a student would need to use their analysis that they've already completed to communicate perhaps how the breakfast that they had this morning is having physical and chemical changes, or creating physical and chemical changes in their body, which then affect or cause different feelings in our brains and in our bodies. And so there's an example of how teachers might use the ATL skills as ways to achieve the learning outcomes.
The first thing that you can do, and the easiest, is for you to just print out some of these resources, some of these ATL cards that you see on the left over here. And having this in your home, either on a wall or as a deck of cards somewhere where you can easily access them, will prompt you to talk about these things more often with your child. Another thing, a really amazing resource here by Ms. Lenny Dutton, who has created a organized bank of posters that you can use that is organized according to each specific ATL and even the sub-skills as well. So please go and look. If you go into this Google Sheet, you can see at the bottom there's tabs, and it's organized according to communication, social, self-management skills, research skills, thinking skills, and then there's the ATL description. So if you're interested and you love resources and you want a lot of posters that you can print out and wonderful visuals that you can use to prompt you and your child with your discussions and talking about their learning, then this is a fantastic resource. And please go and look up Lenny Dutton on the internet and support her work. She's doing some great things. So the last strategy was printing out posters, printing out visuals that can help prompt conversations. But what about when you're actually having those conversations? How do you structure them? Well, there's many thinking routines that teachers like to use in their classes, and you can make use of these thinking routines as well to help the students structure the conversations that they are having with you. They might be familiar with these thinking routines as well, and that is an opportunity for you to improve your conversations with them through using something that they already know. So one example is this connect, extend, and challenge thinking routine, where you might ask your child, maybe, how are the ideas and information presented connected to what you already know? So something that they might have learned in the day. Hey, what did you learn today, and how is it connected to something that you already knew about? Or what did you already know about this topic or the thing that they learned? The extend part is then, what new ideas did you get that extend or broaden your thinking in new directions? So maybe, okay, so you already knew the stuff about the topic, you learned about this, did you have any new thoughts? Or that's a closed question, don't ask closed questions. What new thoughts did you have about this topic that you were exploring in class today? And then lastly, what challenges or puzzles have come up in your mind from the ideas and information presented? Okay, so what are some of the things that we might need to overcome while we're going through this inquiry? What problems do people in this field usually tackle? And this is just a way to help open up the gates for conversation as you go through. And now again, we have the wonderful Miss Lenny Dutton over here, who has also created a beautiful bank of resources for you to explore. And here, these are not just posters or visuals to prompt your discussion. These are strategies, these are resources. In fact, these resources were made for teachers. But if you're an ambitious parent and you want to look through, I'm sure you could find something useful that you could use in this sea of awesomeness. So as I explained before, these are thinking routines, these are videos to watch, these are steps to take when you are having these kinds of conversations, and they are connected to the specific skills that students are learning throughout. So please enjoy. Once again, if you go to the bottom, you can see it's organized into social skills, so resources about talking through social skills, resources talking through self-management related to organization, and self-management related to strategies or reflection. And if you click those two arrows on the side, then there'll be even more things opening up to you. So please enjoy going through those resources. And once again, here's a link to Miss Lenny Dutton's website, Excited Educator, as well as her Twitter account. So please give credit where credit is due. She's done some amazing stuff. And now,
Wow, told you. That is a lot of resources. I think it's a good time to just take a break and just process and go dive in, explore that ocean of awesomeness that is all of those posters and all of those resources and strategies and videos to help accelerate students' mastery of their essential learning skills, their ATL skills. So please enjoy. I hope that you found this very useful, and next time I'm coming at you with a whole bunch more resources that you can use. So get going with this first one, and I'll see you next time for part 2. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.